Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I want to do a quick comparison of these two spray bottles. This one is Spellbinders and this one, the clear one, is from Craft Stash. And I can't remember what the price was, but I don't remember either of them being too terribly expensive, but I'm willing to bet that the Craft Stash one is probably more budget friendly. And that's only based on the fact that their tools tend to be very budget friendly overall, I feel, as compared to others. Even when the tools appear like they might be white labeled, it kind of looks like on some websites and under some brands, if it is indeed a white labeled product, that it's being sold for much more in other places. But these two do appear different. They are not identical. You can kind of, and that's not just the clear versus the opaque. You can kind of see right at the top. That's probably the biggest difference right there. But inside, mechanically, I'm sure there's a lot more that is different. I do like the fact that this is clear because I can tell exactly how much water is left. With this, the Spellbinders one, it's hard to know at a glance, and I find it really helpful to know. So there's that. I have, that being said, I do have this filled pretty much to the top. Let me, I just don't want to spill any water because I'm going to spray onto the blue towel so that you can kind of see. So this is pretty full. You can see it's pretty full to the top. The uptake tube, it's the same, or similar, I should say. There's, the smaller tube and then there's that larger tube. So structurally they look similar, not identical, but similar. And so what I'm gonna do is, because spraying onto my glass board mat here is gonna be hard to tell, I'm gonna put down my blue shop towel, and then that way we can kind of compare and contrast. So the nice thing about this is that you can sort of control like how much water you get out of this, and it's a nice wide tube, so you can actually spray quite a lot. So I'm gonna depress this all the way down one smooth motion, and we'll aim for here. So that is just straight all the way down one smooth motion. This is the Spellbinders one. So it's much more powerful here and much more dispersed. This seemed like it's more concentrated and it just doesn't feel like there's quite as much. Let me do it a second time because I did just take the uptake tube out, and sometimes you just need to prime it a little bit with water. So we'll do a second go here, all the way down one smooth go. So kind of the same thing. I'm gonna do it again a second time with this. So you can kind of see it's more of a mist that comes out, where this is more like a stream almost. So that's just, pushing the trigger all the way down, and you can straight away see like a difference between the two. What you prefer, what feels like it's better in your mind, I think will just depend on the purpose and the way that you plan to use this. So I won't make that judgment for you, but I will tell you when I'm done which one I prefer. So now what I'm going to do is try to control how much water comes out of this, where I'm just going to maybe half press. So that's just pressing a smidge. So let me scooch this up. So I'm just going to press a smidge down and half down. Just doing a smidge and about half. So if I press slowly, I can really get a nice fine mist and almost kind of control how wide I want to spray. Because if I go straight down, it goes really wide. If I just go partially down, then I get more concentrated, I get more of a stream. So now let's see what kind of control I have with the Spellbinders one. So I'm just gonna go a little bit down, just pulling it a little, and nothing comes out. See, no water is coming out. So that's like halfway depressed and nothing is coming out. So then I have to press almost all the way fully down in order to get water to come out of this. So try to do this at an angle. Yeah, you pretty much have to go about 80% in order to get water to come out. So I feel like for a multitude of reasons, and just for my the way that I like using this, if I'm using it for effect, like for maybe spraying a fine mist onto some like a stamp, if I'm going to do that sort of watercolor technique of stamping, or I just want like a nice overall fine mist on my watercolor paper when I'm playing with my magicals, for example, and I'm putting some dry powder onto some watercolor paper. I do like to spritz it with, I don't like to douse it and have it drenched, but I like to spritz it with a little bit of water before I tap the dry powder onto it. So for that reason, I like the Craft Stash because I can really control how concentrated I want the water versus how like spread out I want it to be. And as soon as I start to like pull on the trigger, water starts coming out. Like it starts to come out right away. So I can do like small little bursts and really control how much or how little I'm getting. If I'm just using this for cleaning purposes and, I just want to spray some water to clean my surface and I'm always going to go full on, maybe this is okay, but I actually don't prefer this one. And you all know I'm a Spellbinders influencer, and before that, huge fan of Spellbinders and customer of theirs. So that's not to say that this wouldn't serve somebody else's purposes really perfectly. It's just to say for how I craft, I really prefer the Craft Stash one. And I like it quite a lot, actually. And also, I do also really love the clear bottle, because when it's low, and here's the thing, it's not when it's like out, it's more when it's low, because once it gets to maybe about, when it gets to about like, this is what I found, when it gets to about this level, the performance starts to be a little bit more inconsistent, because I'm always holding it at an angle like this. And so when there's like just this much more of water, by the time it's tilted like this, you can kind of see where that uptake tube is. Once the water is tilted, there's not going to be enough water at this end for you to get like a nice continuous spray. So I like to be able to spot, when the water level gets to be about like a quarter left or a third left, and then I can refill it. Here, I just have to gauge by weight, or just wait until it's just not spraying and working the way I expect. So, so there is that. And, by this point, so here's the thing that is kind of nice about this. I forgot about this feature. So if you press, it actually has like a bit of a continuous action. So you can pull the trigger down, and it's just going to keep on going. It's going to keep on releasing water even after you release the trigger. So there's a little bit of like after action there. Whereas with this, you can see how fine a mist that I get, but you have to like really push on this for the water to come out. So I don't know. I mean, ergonomically, that works nicely because you just push the trigger and it just keeps on releasing water. So yeah, they both have pros and cons, but I have to say I still think I prefer this, even in spite of the fact that this triggers a little bit, easier. But for, as I mentioned, my crafting, how I like to craft, what I use it for, I think the Craft Stash one is the one that I like better. And so that's a quick look at the comparison between these two spray bottles. Okay, so now I want to share my thoughts on some other Craft Stash tools that I have been reviewing lately. And I'm gonna start with, let's start here. Let's start with the scoreboard. I really love this. It's small, it's thin, it can even do envelopes, and I got a comment about how to use this section of the board. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I will show that in a separate video. But I really like this a lot, and you've been seeing me use it probably in some of my recent videos, and you're gonna continue to see me using it because it's so convenient, especially now that I have the We Are Makers cinch stack cutter. What I've been doing is I took US letter size cardstock that I use for my card bases, and then I just chop those in half. And so I have a bunch of half sheets that I then just pull out and put a little score line in, and then my card base is ready to go. Whereas before, what I used to do was in my We Are Makers all-in-one tool, I would score the US letter sheet in half and then cut it in half and make 2 card bases. And so I think just because now I have a bunch of those half sheets ready to go, I've been using this a lot, and it's so small, so lightweight, so thin. I can just keep it right next to me. And I talked about this in my first look video. I just really love the fact that you can score like all the way through the top. I just really, really love that fact. So as a little scoreboard, it's just great. There's nothing not to like about this. And what's funny is that I actually find this funny overall. When I first started crafting, bigger was better because I wanted to just get the biggest thing there was so that I would not be constrained by size and then feel like, oh, the thing I have is too small and now I need to buy another one that's bigger. That's the same for the scoreboard. My very first scoreboard was a 12 by 12 scoreboard. Same thing for paper cutters. My first paper cutter was the 12-inch Fisker's guillotine that I use all the time. And lately, I've been getting things that are smaller and smaller. Oh, it's the same with die cutting machines. I got the largest, the A4 electronic machine, the Gemini. I got the A4 Spellbinders, or the one I have is the Fun Stamper's Journey Platinum machine. And then progressively started to get smaller and smaller everything. So now I've got the small mini Empress electronic die cutting machine, which I love so much. I've got the small Spellbinders, well, I guess I should say more medium-sized Spellbinders guillotine. But I got the little baby Fisker's guillotine, and I feel like now I want everything to be on the small side. I'm not too sure why, but maybe it's just because it is like convenient and storage wise. It's smaller, it's less cumbersome, so easy to kind of keep within arm's reach. But if you have a small craft space, don't feel compelled to get the biggest thing out there. Because I'm finding that now, many years into my crafty journey, I am reaching for smaller and smaller things. So, speaking of small things, this little guy is the Creative Craft Products mini die cutting machine. And at the time that I am filming this, and I hope to be able to get it out there soon as well, so that if you're watching this, you can still take advantage of the huge sale that's going on right now. It's called the Creative Craft Products Monster Tool Sale, up to 80% off. Quite amazing, considering the fact that I feel like the Creative Craft Products tools are already very economically priced. So I really think that they're a good value for money as is, regular price. But this machine, at the time that I'm recording this, it is actually on sale now for $25.49, which is quite a savings. I mean, that is, I feel like, a spectacular price, because I don't think I've seen a die cutting machine at that price before. So here it is, just so that you can kind of see it for yourself. And it's kind of, even I think at $42, it's already less expensive than what I suspect is the same machine, based off of the comments that I got in my first look video of this machine. A lot of folks said that it looks a lot like the We Are Memory Keepers mini evolution die cutting machine, which they sell for $70, 70. So regular price, this is $42.50, and on sale right now, it's being sold at $25.49. So I bring this up just so that you can see that Craft Stash is willing to sell it at this price. So even if you're watching this after the sale is over, if you're not in a rush, then just maybe wait and subscribe to the Craft Stash newsletter, so that when sales are announced, that you'll get them to your email. Because if they're willing to sell it at this price once, likely they will reduce it down to that price again. So I really like this. The suction is really powerful, so it does a really good job of holding on to your tabletop. I'm using a glass board craft mat, and so it sticks very nicely to glass. I can't speak for other surfaces, but I really like this machine. I did look up some things so that I could share it in this video, because when I did my first look video, I didn't have this information on hand. Okay, so let me share some comparisons and pricing for you. I'm just gonna write it rather than do a fancy overlay. So this is the Creative Craft Product one, and so it's 3 inches wide by 6.5 inches. That's the size of the plate. And it's retailing for, well, let's just say the normal price, $43. But currently, I'll just put in parentheses that it's on sale for $26. I'll round up. So how does that compare to some of the other mini machines that are on the market? So Gina K has a mini machine, and it is 3.25 inch wide by 6.5. That's retailing for $70. There's the We Are Makers, which is I think some of us suspect the same or very similar machine, but when I look up the listing, they say 6.43 is the length of the plate. This too is retailing, at the time that I looked it up, $70. Then we have the Gemini Mini. This is 3 inches by 6, so it's a little bit shorter. And this one is $50. So far, these are all manual machines, by the way. Then we have the Sidekick by Sizzix. This is 2.5. This is the smallest one by 4.5. And it is retailing for $70. Wow. Then we have new kid on the block, the Scout by Spellbinders, is 3.5 by 9. And this one's retailing for $80. So that's kind of like a larger size plate. And then I'm gonna throw it on here, but it's kind of, these are all manual machines down here, but I'm just gonna put up here my mini Empress, which is my preferred, and the one that I use most is 4.5 wide by 7.5 long. But this is an electronic machine and it's spendy, $280. I think I got it on a Black Friday deal for under $200, but that is sort of the comparison. And so if you want to take a screenshot of that, you can. Prices, I'm sure, are going to be changing all the time. And of course, you can catch sales here and there. But the Creative Craft product machine is only available, I believe, at Craft Stash. And so as you can see, even at full retail price, it's the most budget friendly out of all of them. And then if you look at the current sale price, I mean, that's just bonkers. But it's what I would feel like is reasonable for such a small machine like this, because your standard machine is one that's like a 6-inch opening, and usually those plates are maybe 6 by 9, so it's quite a bit bigger than this machine. So yeah, I think as something that's like just an entry into crafting, I feel like this price sale for sure, but even regular price, I feel like it's you know, a good price to get into die cutting. Some of these others, I feel like maybe if you just save your money a little bit and kind of double that budget, maybe just wait and catch a sale, like catch a sale and get a 6-inch machine and just kind of skip the mini machine. But this one, I will say, it functions really well. It die cuts really beautifully. I actually didn't really feel too limited. There weren't that many occasions where I felt like I had to go to my mini Empress for size, but it was more what actually broke me was swatching out my Spellbinders color wheel cardstocks, because there's so much die cutting. And so to do that much die cutting and try to get it done really fast for the video, I had to employ my my electronic die cutting machines so that I wouldn't like fatigue myself for one, but just to get it done faster. So that's the breakdown. I really like this machine. I have a lot of other die cutting machines in my stash, and in any case, this machine was given to me by Craft Stash for the purposes of doing the product review of it and sharing my opinion of it to all of you. What I would like to do is sort of pay it forward a little bit. So I would like to then pass this machine. It is going to be as is. So it's used. But I do have, you know, all of the plates. I have everything that came with it, which isn't a lot. So, I should also mention, the other thing to think about in this pricing, though, this is kind of unfair. Yeah, I should mention, so don't call me out on it because I'm remembering right now. some of these are more expensive because they come included with a set of dies to start you off with. Okay, so apples to apples, that could be what makes up the difference. So so bear that in mind, because if you buy this, or if you win this machine that I'm giving away now, all you'll get basically is the machine, these 4 plates, and this instruction sheet, and that's pretty much it. You don't get a set of dies to start. And I know some of these, maybe the Sidekick comes with like dies, maybe one of those small like Tim Holtz impresslets, or the small embossing folders. So keep that in mind as well, or maybe that's why this is so the price point is so much lower than the others, because you're not getting a set of dies to go with it. But to be honest, like the starter dies, how often are you still using those, after you've purchased the machine? Maybe a lot. I don't know. Sometimes they give you a nice basic set of dies to craft with, but I'm not mad at that. I'd rather actually just forego the dies, buy the dies that I want, and just get the tool itself at a lower price point. So here's the deal. I want to give this away, but I want this to go to somebody who does not already have a die cutting machine. I'm not going to be able to verify that at all. I can only ask and make the polite request that if you already have a die cutting machine, please don't enter to win this one. Because the reason why I'm giving this away is because I want to see it used. It's a good machine. It die cuts very well. And in my craft room, because I have so many other machines, this would be like, the second, maybe third choice of machines that I would reach for. And so I much prefer that this goes to somebody who is going to make it their primary machine. And if you outgrow this machine later, that is great. But I would like for this to not go to somebody who is going to make it their secondary, tertiary machine, okay? Because it then may as well just sit in my craft room, if that was going to be the case. So I will cover shipping to the continental US here, because it is going to be in a larger box and heavy. It's probably going to cost a bit to send. So US addresses only. And I just want to show this because I want you to see very clearly like how much I've cut into this, because you're not getting a brand new machine. So this is how much it's been cut into. I don't think this plate is going to warp. I have not made any accidental cuts into the clear plates, because that can happen. So just FYI, these plates are clean, they're used, but so that's why they're a little bit foggy. It's not like super crystal clear. But I have not accidentally cut into them though, if that matters to you. So as much as possible, I just want you to know you're getting this in as is condition. I'm gonna bag it now so it's not actually going to get any more use after I finish recording this, because I feel like I have actually tested it enough to know that it cuts really, really well. And to be honest, I used it for most of my die cutting through like several flip videos, which with the Spellbinders flip, is a lot of die cutting. I did the whole swatching, and I really did not feel like I was constrained by the size in that whole time. And I'm more of a die cutting crafter than a stamping crafter, so I've definitely done a lot of die cutting on this, and I feel like, from my experience so far, I really like it. I think it's a really good machine. And if you are new to crafting, if you have a friend who you would like to introduced to our hobby, share this video out to them, let them know that they can enter to win this because, like I said, I want this to go to somebody who's actually going to use it. So please, please, please don't enter to win this just for the sake of winning something. I know sometimes I do that, and there's nothing wrong with that because if people are giving stuff away for free, it's always nice to win and get something for free. So I get that, but I'm just making the request that I would really love for this to go to somebody who is actually going to use it, who doesn't have a die cutting machine already. So I'm gonna leave the giveaway open for a while to give people time to find this video, to give you all time if you're watching this and you already have a die cutting machine that is serving you nicely. Maybe you could share this out to somebody who you think might enjoy getting into this awesome hobby of ours, and hopefully you can point them to this video and they can enter for a chance to win this. So that is the Creative Craft Products mini die cutting machine. A big thumbs up from me. So the last thing that I want to chat about a little bit is, I'm not going to go into depth on this one. It's the Creative Craft Products stamp platform. I am going to reserve judgment on this, but I want to give you a little bit of an update on where I'm at. I got this at a time when a couple of other stamp platform tools have come into my life. So the Misty was gifted to me, so I have a first look video of that. And then the Altenew Stamp Wheel 2.0 was given to me by Altenew for review, and then Craft Stash gave me this for review. And so I've been trying to use those three, and plus I remembered that I had this, and so I've been reviewing this too. This is the mini version of the We Are Makers Precision press. And so between and I haven't touched my stamping platform, which I love. I've had no complaints about, but I opened the door and I just like kicked that door wide open when it comes to stamping platforms. And so I have been trying to review all 4 of these new to me stamping platforms. And I'm going to tell you this, I want to be really honest. When I craft, a lot of times the stamping, especially like the sentiment and whatnot, it's kind of like the last thing I think of. And so it's it's kind of late in the process, and I feel like it's like the stamping can't go wrong. I really need it to work. And so when I think about stamping platforms that I know will work like spot on every time, 100%, I feel like the Altenew stamp wheel is my go-to. But then it's big, it's bulky, and then I think, okay, what's just easier to grab, and also right here and functions really well. Well, then that means it's my Misty that I go to. And then if further, just in my way of thinking, if it's just something small, like on a bit of scrap paper, like a little sentiment that I'm gonna die cut, actually I've been finding myself reaching for this, which I have to be honest, I had the initial impression because of my first experience with this, it was not very good. That has stuck with me as a first impression, but it actually works really well, I have found. And so I have been using this more and more for like really easy, simple little sentiment strips and whatnot. And I have found it to be pretty precise too. I actually need to do like a proper first look, although it won't be technically a first look anymore, but I want to run it through the same stamps and as much as possible, like the same things that I did when I reviewed this one, the stamp wheel and the Misty. I used the same set of stamps, and that way it gave me a good like bar to measure all of the, or compare all of them. So I need to go back and do it with that one. But this is not one that I reach for, mainly because if you saw that first look video, you know that I struggled a little bit to get like a good impression on the first go. And I also struggled to get reliable multiple impressions in the same spot. So if you don't have those two things and you're stamping late into your project, I feel like this is not the one that I think to reach for. And so, like, how like in sports, there will be some players who are described as like clutch, meaning they're good under pressure, they deliver like in the worst of conditions or whatever, under the worst of conditions, they're reliable, they're dependable, they're gonna come through for you. I feel like, based off of my first impression, and you can go back and look at the first look video if you want, but I feel this stamping platform is not my clutch stamping platform. So what has that meant? That's meant that I actually have not used it enough to actually give it a really fair consideration. So I'm not yet ready to make a conclusion on how I think about this. So I'm going to use it more. I'm going to start to do my stamping earlier in my project so that if I did need to redo something, it's not the end of the world. And so stay tuned. I haven't written this off. I really want to give it like a fair shot, and I feel like I have not given it a fair shot. So I'm going to do that. So to recap, I love this. 2 thumbs up for the spray bottle by Craft Stash or Creative Craft Products. The mini scoreboard, 2 thumbs up. I really love it. I mean, if I had another thumb, I would give it another thumbs up because I just love it that much. And the Creative Craft Products mini die cutting machine, love this as well. I feel like it's got a really strong suction, which I go on about that because it's heavy. So to be honest, it's gonna sit pretty well on its own and still be able to kind of crank through pretty well. But when you get this locked onto your desk, it's really nice. It's gonna be firmly held down really well. And so especially considering the fact that it's on super sale right now, I think really great value for money, that one. And I am giving this exact machine away. So if you do not have a die cutting machine, or you have a friend who you would like to see get into our hobby, but maybe they just don't know what to get, where to spend their money, maybe point them to this video and have them enter for a chance to win. I would really love for this to go to somebody who does not already have a die cutting machine. So I'm just going to kindly ask, I have no way of knowing, but I'm going to kindly ask that if you have a machine that you already love and that you use and you're getting good use out of and it's working well for you, please don't get this. If you're unhappy with your current die cutting machine and you want to get something, try something that's going to work a little bit more reliably, then yeah, do sign up for entering to win this machine. So you don't necessarily have to be new. I just want to avoid having this get shipped to somebody who is not going to actually use it, because in my craft room, I know that it's not going to be used. So if I'm going to spend the money to ship it to somebody, I want it to be used. So that's my reason for putting that request out there. And so just expand the description box below and you'll find the Rafflecopter form. I'm going to leave the giveaway open for a fair bit of time just to give people the chance to find this video and for you to spread the word if you do know anybody out there who you think might like to get into crafting and could make use of a free die cutting machine. And otherwise, I hope you'll check out the Craft Stash website. I'll leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check out some of the other tools. Again, I'm hoping that I get this video up in time for you to take advantage of the incredible sale that's going on right now. If you're able to, I want to scroll just a little bit just so that you can kind of see there's a lot of other products that are tools and whatnot that are available. If you use Cricut or other electronic die cutting, or not die cutting, but electronic cutting machines, you might look at some of the mats, cutting mats for that. And like this is that mini scoreboard. It's $450 right now. That's just incredible. Yeah, I mean, the prices are just amazing. So I hope that you can take advantage of that. But if you are watching this and the sale is over, just take a little look-see at these prices. And if you're not in a rush, just mental note these prices so that you know what Craft Stash is willing to sell some of these products at. And they do sales all the time. And so if you're patient, if you're not in a rush, then you can just wait to catch a sale. But I've always find it helpful to kind of know what they are willing to sell something at, you know, the price they're willing to sell something at. This is the stamp platform, $5.39 right now. And honestly, I feel like their everyday regular price is a really good deal for most, if not all of these things. But if you're on a budget, then just know that you could catch a sale as good as the prices that you're seeing me scroll through. And that's why I'm scrolling through it, so that you can kind of see these prices. And if you're not able to catch this particular sale, maybe you can wait if you're not in a rush to get some of these things, and you'll know what price point you're able to buy them at. So, because I kind of feel like if they're willing to sell it at this price once, they're going to be willing to, because it's on everything. It's not like they're trying to like clear out the inventory on any one particular thing. It's kind of across the board. All of these things are on sale. So, so that's a look at, a little look at the sale. And, I think that's it for me. So thank you so much for catching this video. I'll leave links to everything in the description box below, and stay tuned for truly a more informed decision on this stamping platform. I'm withholding opinion just yet, so still reserving judgment, because at the outset, if I were to make a determination now, I would be a little bit towards the negative side because it's not the one that I think to reach for, but that has also meant that I haven't really given it fair use. So I want to give it some fair use before I really come down with a concluding opinion. All right, thank you again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.